Yeah, so quite a few people putting stuff in the chat, let us know who they are and what's going on. That's great. My name's Paul Connell. How are you doing? You can tell the ODI Leeds teams with their pink t-shirt, or black t-shirts with pink on, and their groovy Open Data Saves Lives backgrounds. If you want that, we're more than happy to share that with you. You can use it as well. I'll just wait for a couple more people in the waiting room. We'll wait for them to join. Great stuff. Every time I'm about to start, someone else joins the waiting room. So we'll just wait for everyone to make sure they're in the meeting. Great stuff. So everyone who's just joined, welcome to ODI Leeds' Open Data Saves Lives. If you could just put a note in the chat about who you are and why you're here, that will help everyone. And then if there's anything specific you want to discuss, we can do that. So put that in the chat. ODI Leeds, this has been running now for 4 weeks. Is that right, Amy? Is this our 4th session? We've had quite a lot of people involved, online, offline, live. So we've got about 20 of us ish online today. There's been 50 on each of the other sessions. So I think everyone's getting busy and finding out. But we've also had a lot of interaction and engagement with our Open Data Saves Lives website and the web assets. So if you get a chance, I'll put the link in the chat. Have a look at there. We're collecting all of the outputs and assets on there so that everyone gets a chance to review them. So ODI Leeds has got a bit of an update to give you around our visualizations and also the way in which Public Health England broke everyone's visualizations this week. So we'll give some feedback on that. We've also been aware of quite a lot of work that Leeds and Bradford have been doing with TPP, NHS Digital, to translate data from NHS and TPP into meaningful geographic regions for local authorities, which is really important. So we can let people know about that. We've also been helping NHS Digital. I don't know if anyone from NHS Digital is on the line today. Is that Jessica? Are you there?
Sorry, unmute myself. Yes, hi. Yeah, I am.
We helped you out with some geography code, I think. So we can pick that up later, make sure that's been sorted out, and if there's any support, that would help. We can talk about that in a bit later.
Yeah, sounds good.
Is anyone from the Red Cross on the call today? No, but I think what we're going to try and do is get some update from the Red Cross on their vulnerability index and their vulnerability tracker and all their data that is very important to a lot of people who are working in this area. So if anyone's got any questions about how they identify, manage, run data around vulnerable adults or vulnerable places in the UK, the Red Cross repo is in a good place. So we've still got people joining, which is great, and I'm sort of filling at the moment. And then also I'd like to talk about the culture of data and using the web as it's supposed to be used. I don't know if any of you are aware, there is something called NHS Futures, which we were invited to join this week, which is great. However, when you do join, it's like going back to the 90s. If you remember those things as intranets and wikis and chats, it's a very interesting way to communicate. So I think I'd like to share some discussions around that and how we might be able to help them become more
Yeah, sorry, I was muted.
We're going to get a page. Everyone must have been had that. Sorry, I'm muted. We've just got a little sticker that goes up every time you join a call. But Patrick, could you just let people know where we are with putting all the data in one place, and any updates we've had since last week?
Yeah, so on our COVID-19 webpage, which is at odileeds.org/COVID-19, there's a data page in the resources section, and that's powered by a Google document, which I've made completely open so anyone can add to that. So we've got about 20 sources so far, mostly UK, but quite a few different countries as well. And there's also a link to Tom White's GitHub repository, where he's been collating data for the whole of the UK, which we recommend using if you're looking for a good source for UK data. That's just a work in progress, really. Kept adding to it. Anyone can add to that Google document, which would be really helpful. And yeah, that's it, really.
Excellent. So that resource is on the ODI Leeds Data Science website. Often when we pull these projects together, they find that that's the most useful, in that we put all the stuff we're talking about in one place. Makes it really easy to use. The next thing I'd like to talk about is data and access to data. We've got someone from Belfast City Council joining us. Amazing. We've not really started for the late joiners to the call, so if you could just let us know who you are in the chat, that would be great. We're just talking about the data infrastructure that people are using to try and respond to COVID-19. And this week, I don't know whether you saw it, straight after the bank holiday, Public Health England changed the way in which they publish their data. It basically broke everyone's visualizations who've been building anything with their existing data. So two of our team, Giles and Stuart, were working on this, and we won't go into too much detail, and we promise we won't rant too much. But Stuart, if you could just share some of the points that we've been making. The reason we want to share this is it's really important as we come out of this that we move to a way of working with each other which makes it as easy as possible to work together. And then I think Giles is going to do an voilà moment and tell us how he's fixed all this and fixed it for everyone and put it all in one place. We're not one to moan too much, but we've also fixed the problem as well. So Stuart, if you just give us 90 seconds on where we're at and what we've done, and then Giles, you can reveal your fix. It should be great.
Yeah, so we've got a local authority view that we created in a couple of weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, which was grabbing data direct from Public Health England, who were publishing a CSV file using ArcGIS, but that doesn't really matter. They were publishing it at a URL and they were updating that every day, the data, not the URL. On Tuesday, I think it was, they changed to a new dashboard, which is great. The code for that's on GitHub. That's all in the open. That's a good thing, and it looks a lot cleaner and nicer. But unfortunately, the background to that, they now have a daily file that's in a different URL every day. and a different file that then gives you have to go to find out where that file is. That, as Paul said, broke our visualization. It broke some other people's visualizations. There was quite a bit of comment on it yesterday on Twitter and on the GitHub repo for the Public Health England dashboard. It basically sort of breaks one of the fundamental points of the web, which is having things at URLs that you can reliably get to. And because people are really wanting the latest version of a data set, they want to be able to go to a consistent URL to get that data every day for their visualization or interpretation or tool or whatever it is that they're doing. So I'm hoping that Public Health England will put that back. It's fairly simple to do, but in the meantime, Giles has done a workaround. So I should also say before Giles comes on that we've switched to just using Tom White's collated data because he's got reliable URLs. He's also collating data for the 4 nations in the UK, not just for the local authority level for England. So it's just, his data is just generally more reliable for using, although it then does mean it's slightly behind Public Health England because he has to update that.
So just to, I've hopefully you can see that on the screen. I've linked to Tom White's GitHub there.
Oh, so that's a link to ours actually. But if you click through to,
yeah. And
that's just a page explaining where we got the data from and how we did.
We've explained that, and this is a really great repo. If anyone wants to use this is the repo putting it all together. All the data sources in the UK, and typical
He's
of the
also
UK.
got notes about the history of what's changed when, like Wales stopped publishing certain things and restarted publishing certain things.
Which is great, which is amazing. But typical of the UK, we've got someone who's taken it upon themselves to do this. So who's basically using it as a hobby, and we think this is the best set of open data relating to COVID, all in one place that's linked. And I don't think I was paying Tom to do it, and I think he's doing it for the benefit of everybody. So yeah, that's an amazing resource. Have a look at that. We're using it.
More generally than COVID, it's something that does happen quite often. So election candidates, for instance, has to be crowdsourced by an open source team because there isn't a central UK body that brings that all together into one place.
Yeah. But Giles, you fixed it, yeah?
Well, I've patched it for the moment. So, I mean, clearly it would be better if Public Health England were publishing this data, as Stuart said, in a referenceable format. That said, the data is there. It is possible to get to it. You need to do a bit of downloading and then finding out which file is there. Their code is all readable. So all I've done is I've turned that into a repo hosted on ODI Leeds GitHub. And essentially the 3 data sets, or the 3 versions of that data set you can now access. You can see all your links in at the minute, Paul.
Yeah, I was just going to go to the emergent stuff, but yeah.
Okay. Are now available. So there's the raw JSON data. I'll quickly share my screen if that's okay. There we go. So you should now be able to see that repo sitting in ODI Leeds. There's a build script and a couple of library functions, but the main stuff is that the coronavirus cases, deaths, and the data, which are directly downloaded from and translated from the Public Health England stuff, are available in that repo. It might just be appearing on my shoulder in a second. I've also put in a metadata file which says when I ran the download. The intention is that I'll turn that into something which is built every couple of hours, just so we get the latest data from Public Health England. But as I say, ultimately, it would be great if they were able to share that directly themselves, so we didn't have to do this. The link for that is in the chat.
Great stuff. Great stuff. But and we're going to put a blog post up about this, and everyone can look at that and share where we're at with all this. And also, I think it demonstrates how valuable our work is, and also the feedback we need to do. What's quite interesting is that we've obviously, and lots of other people have posted comments on the GitHub repo and made requests. but everyone has been asked to make their comments as an email and send that email to Public Health England to ask where that. So Mark's got a question around this. Okay, yeah, there's a question there about data standards for Persian and patient level data that people can link to and share. And I think I'm going to just put that out. And I think, Graham Hyde, you've got some strong views on this sort of thing. And if you would like to share that, we'd be really happy to put that as a build on the Open Data Saves Lives website, is some suggested design principles or design standards or data standards for person and patient level data. So we'd be happy to do that. Graham, have you got some points around which column headings you're using at the moment and what's working and what's not working?
I guess at the moment, with person level data coming out nationally, there's an NHS number on there, which is really helpful.
You might need to move your microphone down.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. What am I saying? So the two national data sets that we're getting in Leeds are person level stuff. So we're getting this shielded list and this self-reported, what I'm calling clinically extremely vulnerable list. So those the CEVP list has gone bananas over the last couple of weeks. It was at 2,000 and now it's over 10,000. But on there, really helpfully, is an NHS number. So there must be some process in the background somewhere where government can basically connect to the spine and pull down NHS numbers, because if you look on the website, you can either type it in or say, no, I don't know it. So somewhere there's a process for pulling NHS numbers down. And we're using that. We're also using the address with another process within the council to pop a unique property reference number on. So I think my life's work will be if the UPRN number, which is now being made available open data-ish from the Ordnance Survey, if that could be popped onto every health record, that would be an additional linkage device. I mean, I guess Big Brother and all that sort of stuff, but it would just be really helpful, because obviously council records don't have an NHS number, but they do have a UPRN number, and just that matching across would be superb.
Okay. Mark, what were you envisaging with this?
So I've had sort of calls this morning since 8 o'clock with all the different analytical people across the patch, and the experience here will be the same across the whole country, where loads and loads of senior people are asking loads and loads of junior people for loads and loads of different data sets that are similar but different to each other. And it's like a chain, like a pyramid. So you then go down into each organisation and they build up loads of data sets in different ways with different recording conventions. So there's this whole industry has blown up in the last 2 weeks. And what I've put in place with a kind of more technical guy than me is a set of daily calls where we say, right, everyone just stop, and we're all going to agree a row level data set for patients that were discharged yesterday and patients that are live in our beds at the moment. And we'll all send it in and we'll all agree how we record oxygen, ITU status, all sorts of things. And from that, all of the aggregated reports that you keep asking us to fill in, like how many people died yesterday as an aggregate number, how many ITU beds you had as an aggregate number, and so on, you won't need, because we'll just publish row level data and then you can aggregate it however you see fit. And the great news is we'll help you do some of the aggregations as well, so that what are called daily sit reps, situation, site reports, all that stuff goes away because you've got the row level data. And the great thing is you can then go off and do loads of modelling. So we've produced a really good report, which if you want me to show at some point, we've got a really nice report which shows all the graphs, all the forecasts, the deaths, the capacity models. You get it all from the row level data. So all your statutory reporting you get for free, and all of your modelling, and potentially, in the future, if it was more sophisticated, AI analysis and all sorts of junk. And I just wonder, it's probably a longer conversation, it just occurs to me that a lot of what you do as ODI and ODI Leeds specifically is aggregated data.
Yeah.
But if you positioned yourselves as wanting to receive IG acceptable row level data, you could build synthetic data sets for people. You could, and you know what I think. It's just something we need to think about. So I'm happy to share all of the design work we've done on our local data, and if that's useful for people, they might want to do a similar thing. It was more a kind of a challenge to you to say, in your role, what about you receiving patient level and citizen level data, whether that's travel data on a bus or a trip in a hospital or
whatever. My thoughts are, the answer is yes, of course we can.
Okay.
We've got the skills, we've got the team, we've got the partners. I think the really important thing is we've got the partners. So what I would like to
expertise.
Sorry?
Have you got the information governance expertise?
We don't have it internally, but we can get it.
Yeah, and we've got some of it, and
well, Giles and Stuart are really good at it, and they've done loads. We've got NHS Digital, NHSX in the room with us, but we've also got the NHS England people who are we'd be able to call on.
Yeah,
I am pretty sure if we pitched this to them and said we're doing this and we need your help, you need to join in.
Yeah,
they would.
Yeah,
and I think we've got. So Jessica's on the line from NHS Digital. I don't want to give you all of this as a job to do, but there are hundreds and hundreds of IG specialists in Leeds working for NHS England, NHS Digital here, and I know that people are solving these problems. So Graham's got a question to Mark there. The way we would do this at ODI Leeds is probably pitch this openly and say, we are going to do this, who would like to join in, and work from there. So Mark, could we put some time aside to write this up and say, in order to address, because the reporting requirements for people within the NHS and Public Health England and local authorities and social care are only going to get larger as people want to move out of the lockdown.
Yeah.
So how do you get certainty in modelling? So if we could set this up ASAP, the best thing to do is probably to write a blog post on the Open Data Saves Lives website saying we're going to do it, asking for people to join in, and also get people to shout at us saying that we're wrong, and then we can fix it. We know, Johnny from NHS England, who did all the synthetic data work with us, he's on the data pod within NHS England, and I've been put in touch with them. The place not to put this is in the NHS Futures website that I've seen, because as I said, it's like going back to... Sorry?
Are you allowed into that, or have you got like your nose stuck up against the window?
No. I've been invited into it and asked to join. I've had a quick look round, and and that's the question: why isn't this on the web? So we will see where we go with that. But I think
I can give you a bit of cover. It's a bit like in Homeland. I'm like the Taliban, and you're like that Russian.
Yeah. Well, you could be Saul, yeah?
No, I want to be the Taliban guy that got shot. I can keep you safe for a while, but I'll ultimately get put up against a wall and shot.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Saul Bernstein. So we were going to go off it, but Saul's really cool. So I like Saul. So I'll just walk around fast with a beard. That's what he does.
Okay.
So we're getting distracted. But if people on the call, basically what we're talking about there is there's a whole load of requests from the centre and government being asked of the NHS, can Open Data Saves Lives be used to standardise that across the whole of the country so that we can streamline a whole load of work for people? The answer is yes. We're going to write a blog post about it. I'm a bit stuffed today, but maybe do it on Monday, Mark, get Amy involved. And what I'd like now is, Graham, would you help us with that? And is there anyone else on the line who's working in that world who would like to join us and help us out with that starting on Monday? if there's no one else, the three of us will do it. We'll make it open, and then Giles and Stuart, we're going to need some of your IG help with that. And then I do know that Bradford Council have been talking to TPP about extracting their data in a standard format from the GP records to adding UPRNs to NHS numbers. So there's a whole, as well as standardising that world of the NHS and hospitals, helping GPs do that as well. And the people who are in charge of TPP's data have been in touch with us separately. So they're very up for joining in with this process as well. So we'll get them to write a blog post as well about how they're helping. And I know I've seen some of the outputs that they've done with Bradford, which are great. And we just need to share that as widely as possible to make sure that we crack on. Cool. So
before you move on, just very quickly, we've got a question from Christoph, and I think we've got Matt from the British Red Cross who posed a question in the chat as well.
Great stuff. I saw that from Matt. So Christoph, you've got a question there. Would you like to join us and share that?
Yes. Hi. So I'm Krzysztof. I'm basically bioinformatician by physician at Bradford University. So it's more kind of the sharing of the resource. It's possible that you are aware of this particular resource, but last week there was a virtual biohackathon around the COVID-19 organized by a number of the researchers, right? So there's a lot of the open resource which has been generated, during this hackathon. I don't know if I can share the screen with you. I can try.
Christoph, what I'd ask you to do is, where can we find this on the web? And then
I can send you the GitHub link.
No. So if you could link to that in the Google document that we've got,
sure,
and put it on there, we can do that.
Yeah, but can I just have some clarification, because this biohackathon was not only about the data, but it was also around the methodology around the COVID-19. So it's not only the GitHub link to the data itself, but also to the infrastructures and software. So
yeah, this is fantastic. It's really great work. I think there's a lot of work in there that people can work on and share. What we'd love you to do is, if you can, and I don't think we've got enough time to do it justice in this session, because I'm trying to keep all of our sessions
absolutely fine. Yes. So I will use
this. This is great.
Yeah.
So what I'd like to do is, if you can, Amy, could you catch up with Christoph after this, and we'll put this in we'll put a guest blog post on the Open Data Saves Lives webpage. We'll link to this. And I think what we ask people to do is just do three things with our work. So we have a story blog, which and you'll probably combine the two, and a technical blog where you explain what we're doing, and then link to a repo which you've got there. So this is really great stuff. Don't think I'm not being positive, but it's just I want to do it justice. And what we'll do is, if you could put that live, or we'll try and get that live for next week on the Open Data Saves Lives website. And then if we've got a short 300 to 500 word blog post on there which explains it in layman's terms what it is and what you'd like to get out of it, I think that would be a really positive step. And then I think the other part of this is, which we've seen a lot, is what help do you need now to amplify your work, and do you need any links in with other parts of the ecosystem? So I think your question for me today is, what's the most important thing that came out of Biohack? What help do you need? And what should we do next?
I mean, okay, let me just think about that. But in terms of this particular resources, right? So this is like community effort. So there was more than 340 people who took part. So I don't want you to take any credit for this particular resource, right? Yeah, just to make you aware of the existing of this resource, and there's a range of the topics covered there. So I'm very happy to write a short blog about that as well, right? And let me think about your question as well.
That'll be amazing. That'll be amazing. I think everyone says thank you very much for putting that into the pot, and that's exactly what Open Data Saves Lives is about. And I have no idea how that's going to help, but I'm pretty sure it is going to help. So that's fantastic. Matt, there was is that Matt from the Red Cross?
Yeah, hi.
Hey Matt, welcome. So you did you have a request?
Yeah, so we're looking at food deliveries, and one element of that is supporting food banks in getting food to vulnerable people. And so one thing that we were thinking would be quite useful to help us kind of map and model where people might be struggling to access food despite needing food is trying to figure out where people just physically can't get to food banks because they live too far away. So what we ultimately want to do is kind of correlate this with things like a map of frailty so that we can look at mobility, people with mobility issues who then can't get outside, linking it to the shielded group who just can't go outside at the moment. But we were thinking for now, it might be quite useful just as a kind of hopefully quick-ish bit of analysis to essentially get the key, like the travel time to key services sort of information, but specifically about food banks, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it does make sense. So you're trying to, you've got your vulnerability index and you're putting data, and you're trying to identify where you should act first, I guess. I am sure that within the ecosystem or the community we've got, we can help you with that.
Cool.
I think would we be able to turn that into a request from the Red Cross via Open Data Saves Lives that we put out as widely as possible? And we can get if you've got we can share your contact, we put that out widely, and we can get people to volunteer to join you. So you get a coalition of the willing around your work, because I'm sure there's going to be more points and issues that you're going to need to work on, and we've been inundated with people who want to help. So I think Amy, if you could help Matt turn that into a request that we put out as Open Data Saves Lives. Obviously, if there's someone on the call who can fix this afternoon, amazing. But if we can put this together and put that out as a request from Open Data Saves Lives as a request for help, and then maybe we put a separate part of the Open Data Saves Lives page, which is help requested or analysis requirements. It's not quite a backlog of requirements, and we don't need to run a Trello board or anything about that, but we can just say, Red Cross would like help with this, could you help? And this is how you get in touch. Would that work for you, Matt?
Yeah, that sounds brilliant. Thank you.
Fantastic. Again, a win. That is a win, I think. So Amy, we can help out with that. And then Matt, I think we can look at how we would then publish the fix. And then we'd obviously, if there's some code, we can put it on your repo. And we'd like to, I think, we'd like to go back a step and obviously get a guest blog post from you about the Red Cross Vulnerability Index and all the tools that you're putting together, because I'm going to go on about this NHS Futures thing again. I had a quick look, and there are pages and pages of questions about exactly this on there, and no one seems to be answering it, but lots of people asking the same question. So lots of people asking questions, not actually no one doing any work, but maybe I'm being harsh, but maybe not. So that'll be a great thing, and if we can put it open, that'll be fab. So we had Christoph, we had Matt. Was there any other questions that people like to pull together on this? And then Matt, you suggested that we pull together a crowdsourced structure for what Mark and Graham were talking about. That's exactly what we should do, and that's what the web was designed for. So let's start doing that. Okay. The next point. Last week we talked about. So Alistair Bulwood from NHS Digital had a question about linking geography together. I think, Stuart, you might have fixed that for Jessica. Could we just pick up on that? Jessica, could you just give us a feedback of where we are with that?
On the geography side of things?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's to do with the shielded patient list.
I think it was. Stuart, can you remind us what was the fix you did, and then Jessica can say whether it's been done, and then we'll ask the question again. Yeah, that'd be great.
The NHS 111 data had the first 4 characters of postcodes, and they wanted to know how to map those to local authorities.
Right. I'm afraid I don't have an update specific to that right now. A lot of the resources around the COVID data has been pushed towards the shielded patient list. Currently having like some struggles trying to get the governance side of things on that. But hopefully that will be published in the next few weeks. We've also been putting a lot of effort into building a roadmap for this, which will be getting shared as soon as it's ready. But I'm afraid no. That question's probably better directed towards Alistair. If you got his email address, you can drop him an email.
Jessica, I think it was basically he asked the question last week. We think we fixed it for him, but we didn't get the feedback to say yes, that works. So
okay,
we just want to close the loop on that point.
Yeah. I'll follow up with him about that.
So there was
I made some code and the result here. So I basically took the ONS postcode file, truncated it to 4 characters. I need clarification on whether those 4 characters include a space or not. I decided they didn't, but if they do include a space, I need to remake it. And it tells you the split of numbers of postcodes to each local number of addresses for that 4-character postcode that go to each local authority. So, for instance, if your LS28 was the 4 characters, it would tell you so many were in Bradford and so many were in Leeds, so that you could work out a way to split your data.
So there was a call Tuesday about this, and there were various people on that, so I jumped on it as well. And I think we agreed that actually we were slightly making the data up. So we had a discussion about postal geography and admin geography, and the two don't match because they don't. And actually we came up with a bit of a solution about effort to do this and what the benefit was. I was trying to push them a bit, like we've already talked about here, about that record level stuff, but I don't want to talk too badly about central government organisations, but I just don't think they get it. I think there's other stuff that they could be spending time on, more useful data sets, because a slightly made up data set at local authority level, I don't know what benefit that would have to anybody.
It's about the NHS 111 data, because they said they didn't have any way to get more, for the web-based stuff, they didn't have any way to get more than 4 characters of a postcode. So it doesn't have person level data in a sense, from what they were saying.
Yeah, but publishing that, for what purpose? How would anybody use that? It's too high level. It's what's the so what question with publishing that data? The work that you did, Stuart, was absolutely spot on, brilliant stuff. But we can publish data, but why? Why would NHS Digital spend time publishing that data that isn't as useful as it could be? They could do good stuff elsewhere. That was my argument.
Cool. Well, I guess that's one for Jessica as a follow up. We did some work, help them, and we'll see where we're at with that. Okay. So we've covered a lot, and we've done it. We're almost coming up to my 45-minute cut off, which is I'm trying to get all my things within 45 minutes so that they don't stretch out to an hour unnecessarily. Is there anything else that people would like to raise on the call that people are passionate about? The work we've done on the Google document to put together real use cases has been really powerful for NHS Digital in working out what to do next. So I'd really encourage people, if they've got specific requirements that people are coming up with, use that Google document. NHS Digital are reading it. I have a look at it every now and then, and there's always 3 or 4 people in that document all the time. So if people could use that Google Doc, that would be great. If you don't know where it is, I'll just share my screen in a second. So, share screen. So if you go to the ODI Leeds website, click on ODI Open Data Saves Lives. The Open Google document is here. Sign up. And there's always people in this document all the time, which is great. We know that these user needs are being used by NHS Digital to drive what NHS Digital are focusing on. So please do add use cases to that as we're going. Okay, so yeah, Mark's got an example he wants to share with us. So Mark, I'll just stop sharing my. If you want to share your screen and go through that, that'd be grand.
Okay, I'll be really quick, Paul.
Yeah.
If you can hear me, yes, Graham. Offline, I can send you the slides. I can put them on Paul's site. So the plan is to have a linked data set at patient level all the way up. So you can do live, how many people in your A&E, how many are in mine, right up through where should we put the stroke centre, right up to how do we plan public health better. And it's all from a row level data set. I'll post some slides that explain that. Just really quickly, can people see that graph?
Yeah.
On screen. Okay, so this is quite a nice example. The only bit you really need to consider is that dotted green line is the international and then national epidemiological model of how much COVID we would get. And the solid green line is the one that I've built with some people from the CCG to show what's actually happening locally. So that big dotted green line is why they're putting nightingales all over the place, with a risk that no one goes into them, when the reality is that our deaths don't look great, our performance doesn't look great, but the bit that does look quite good for this country is that we look like we've got enough ITU capacity for the number of spikes that we'll get. And to build that solid green line, you need local linked data. You can't just rely on these national models. So, but basically the difference between the dotted line and the solid line in green is why you need to link the data locally, so you can build a pucker forecast. So this is why we would do everything that you're suggesting, Paul.
Yeah, fantastic.
Not build a military hospital in Detling, which we don't need, we don't think at the moment.
No. Okay.
Yes, Paul.
So could we share the code and story behind that?
Yeah, I will. I can share the row level data, the spec for the row level data set, and I'll. I'm only pausing because the spreadsheet which builds the graphs isn't mine, but I'll speak to that person and see if I can. I don't see why not. If I take some data out, there's nothing too sophisticated in it.
Excellent. Cool. So there's a load of, and this is a really good session. It's like a check-in. We've reviewed what we've done first. We've helped NHS Digital get some use cases. We've absolutely helped people fix some initial problems, which is linking addresses to NHS data. We've got a whole load of tools that are coming out, and I think the important thing for us now is to work out how we share these tools effectively across the lots of different organisations that are coming out. So I'd like to call that an end to the meeting. We'll be in touch with you all about the outputs that are going to come. So there's a request for support for the Red Cross. There's a piece of work around standardising a standard, or getting a standard together for the row level data that people are using, that we'll put together next week. And then where that goes, I'm not sure. Is it with ODI Leeds? Is it with Data North? Is it somewhere else? I'm sure we can pull that together. But before we finish, is there anything else that people would like to share or comment? Or some good stuff around there about food maps or food banks, which is great. Are there any other points people want to make before we sign off? Amazing. Anyone got the hand up? Fab. So same time, same place next week. We've got 27 people online today, which is grand. And we'll give a feedback. Have a look out for. Just keep an eye on the ODI Leeds Open Data Saves Lives webpage. There's stuff going to go up there between now and then. And please join in. It will be fun.